Parents, when did you look at your kid and think, that's my boy? I noticed my 14-year-old son suddenly started waking up 30 minutes earlier every morning. For most parents, that probably wouldn't sound remarkable. For my son, it was practically a supernatural event. This was a kid who treated mornings like a personal enemy. A kid who needed 3 alarms, sometimes 4. A kid who could somehow sleep through thunderstorms, barking dogs, and vacuum cleaners. 4 years, getting him out of bed before school had been a daily battle. Every morning followed the same routine. I'd knock on the door. No answer. I'd knock harder, still nothing. Then I'd walk in and find him buried beneath blankets like he was preparing for hibernation. So when I noticed him voluntarily waking up 30 minutes early every single day, alarm bells started going off in my head. At first, I assumed there was a girl involved. Let's be honest, most parents would. A sudden change in behavior, secretive smiles. Protecting his phone, leaving early. It checked every box, but whenever I casually asked what was going on, he'd shrug. No reason, no explanation. No details, nothing. The first week, I ignored it. The second week, I became curious. By the third week, I was suspicious. Because it wasn't just the early mornings, other things started changing too. He seemed more responsible, more focused, more mature. His teachers emailed saying he'd become more attentive in class. His grades improved. He stopped complaining about little things. He even started helping around the house without being asked. One Saturday, I found him mowing Mrs. Peterson's lawn. Mrs. Peterson was 82 years old and lived alone. When I asked why he was doing it, he simply said, her mower broke. Then he changed the subject. Another time, I noticed $20 missing from the kitchen counter. Normally, I'd have asked immediately, but before I could, he walked over and placed $20 back in the exact same spot. Plus another 10, sorry, I borrowed it. Borrowed it for what? He shrugged. I needed something, then he walked away. The mystery only deepened. One evening, nearly a month after the early mornings started, the doorbell rang. I opened the door expecting a package delivery. Instead, my neighbor stood there, Tom. A single father who lived 3 houses down. His expression looked strangely emotional. Almost nervous. Do you have a minute? Sure. We stepped onto the porch. Tom looked down for a moment before speaking. I need to tell you something about your son. My stomach immediately tightened. Every parent knows that feeling. Those words can lead absolutely anywhere. Then he smiled, and everything changed. He has been walking my son to school every day. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. What? Tom nodded. Every day. Then he explained. His son Ethan was 9 years old. Autistic, a sweet kid, smart, kind, obsessed with dinosaurs and trains. Unfortunately, he was also an easy target. A few months earlier, budget cuts had eliminated the special education transportation route. Suddenly, Ethan had to walk to school. At first, Tom adjusted his work schedule to accompany him. Then his company downsized. He was forced onto earlier shifts, leaving before sunrise. He didn't have a choice. For weeks, Ethan walked alone. That's when the problem started. Kids stole his lunch, mocked him, destroyed school projects he'd spent days building. One group of older boys apparently found endless entertainment in tormenting him. Tom reported it repeatedly. Nothing changed. Then one morning, my son showed up at their front door and simply asked, "Want me to walk with him?" Tom assumed it would happen once, maybe twice. Instead, it became a daily routine. Rain, cold, wind, didn't matter. Every single morning, I stood there stunned. Because I had absolutely no idea. Tom continued, "You should see how your son treats him." His voice cracked slightly. He talks to him about dinosaurs even though I know he doesn't care about dinosaurs. He laughed. He learned the names of like 50 species. I felt something tighten in my chest. Tom wasn't finished. He knows Ethan gets overwhelmed by loud noises. He knows which intersections make him nervous. He knows exactly how to calm him down when he gets anxious. Every sentence hit harder than the last because none of this sounded accidental. This wasn't random kindness. This was commitment. Planning, effort, responsibility. Tom looked away for a second, then quietly said, "I just wanted you to know that your son has made my life bearable these last few months." I didn't know what to say. After he left, I sat in the living room for nearly an hour thinking, remembering, trying to reconcile the teenager I thought I knew with the one my neighbor had just described. The next morning, I decided to see it myself. I woke up before sunrise. Waited until my son left. Then followed from a distance. What I witnessed changed me forever. My son walked 3 blocks, stopped outside Tom's house, and waited, not checking his phone, not looking annoyed, just waiting. A few minutes later, the front door opened. Ethan appeared. The moment he saw my son, his entire face lit up, like Christmas morning. Like someone had just handed him the greatest gift in the world. My son immediately held up his hand. "Ready, buddy? High five." Ethan grinned, then handed over his backpack. My son took both backpacks without hesitation. The little boy started talking instantly, something about dinosaurs or trains. I couldn't tell. My son listened patiently, nodding, asking questions, actually engaging. Then something happened that nearly brought tears to my eyes. As they walked, my son positioned himself on the side closest to the road. Every single time, crosswalks, parking lots, busy intersections, always between Ethan and traffic. Instinctively, protectively, the behavior was so natural that it was obvious he'd been doing it for weeks, maybe months. Then they approached the elementary school. 3 older boys appeared near the entrance. Even from a distance, I could see the tension. Ethan saw them too. His posture changed immediately. Shoulders tightening, head lowering, fear. My son noticed instantly. Without saying a word, he moved slightly forward, placing himself between Ethan and the boys. Not aggressively, not threatening, just present. Confident, ready. The older boys slowed, looked at him, looked at Ethan. Then decided it wasn't worth it. They walked away, just like that. The entire interaction lasted maybe 10 seconds. But I knew exactly what had happened. Those kids weren't scared. They simply realized Ethan wasn't alone anymore. After making sure Ethan reached the school doors safely, my son checked the time. His eyes widened, then he took off running, sprinting to full blocks toward his own school, trying not to be late. I sat in my car feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Pride, the overwhelming kind. The kind that sneaks up on you because the truth is parenting often feels uncertain. You spend years wondering if anything you're teaching is actually sticking. You repeat the same lessons: kindness, responsibility, integrity, compassion, over and over. And most of the time, all you get back are eye rolls, shrugs, and closed bedroom doors. You start wondering if they're listening at all. Then one day, when nobody is watching, you discover they were. That evening at dinner, I finally decided to ask, "How long have you been walking Ethan to school?" His fork froze halfway to his mouth. For a split second, panic crossed his face, then came the familiar shrug. A while, maybe 3 months. 3 months, 3 entire months. Every school day, without telling anyone. Without asking for praise, without posting about it online, without seeking recognition, just doing it. Why? He looked genuinely confused by the question, like the answer should have been obvious. Because somebody needed to. I stared at him, waiting for more. Instead, he returned to eating. Eventually I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" He finally looked up, and I'll never forget the expression on his face. There was no pride, no self-congratulation, no expectation of reward, just confusion, pure confusion. "Why would I?" He shrugged. "It's just the right thing to do." The room went silent. My wife looked down at her plate. I could see tears forming in her eyes. My son completely missed it. Because as far as he was concerned, nothing remarkable had happened. The next few weeks, I started noticing things I'd overlooked before. Little things, the way he held doors open, the way he always greeted elderly neighbors, the way younger kids seemed drawn to him, the way people trusted him. One afternoon, Ethan came over after school. The two of them spent hours building a cardboard dinosaur park in our garage. At one point, Ethan became frustrated. One section collapsed. He started panicking. My son sat beside him, patiently helping him rebuild it piece by piece. No frustration, no annoyance, just patience. Endless patience. Later that night, I asked where he'd learned that. He laughed. Learned what? How to be so patient. He thought about it, then smiled. Dad, Ethan's trying his best, as if that explained everything. Maybe it did. Months later, Ethan won an award at school, Most Improved Student. When his name was called, he immediately looked into the audience, not for his father, for my son. And when he spotted him, he smiled, the biggest smile in the room. That's when I realized something. My son wasn't just helping Ethan get to school. He was changing the trajectory of a child's life, giving him confidence, safety, friendship, a reason to feel less alone. And he was doing it without expecting anything in return. Parents often imagine big moments. Championship games, graduations, scholarships, awards. But standing there watching my teenage son quietly become the person I always hoped he'd be. That was bigger than all of them. Years from now, I probably won't remember his report card grades, or what shoes he wore, or which video games he played. But I'll remember that morning, watching him stand between a vulnerable little boy and the people trying to hurt him. Not because he had to, not because anyone asked, but because he saw someone who needed help and decided to show up. That's when I looked at my son and thought, that's my boy, and I've never been prouder.